In this lesson, we're going to talk about some of the most commonly mispronounced words by English learners. This video is put into 4 different levels, with a final level at the end, so technically five levels, with a monster of a word, or phrase I should say, at the end to really test to see if you make these typical pronunciation mistakes in English. Level 1 starts with some typically mispronounced everyday words. Then it goes up to level 2, a little bit trickier, level 3, level 4, where there are some very difficult words in there, and then, as I said, the boss round at the end. So what I'm going to do is put a word down here on the screen. I'll leave it there for a few seconds for you to think about how you pronounce that word, and then I will say it after. And hopefully you get it correct. Keep track of your score and how you are doing, and then when you finish the video, tell me in the comments how you did with this test. So let's start with level 1, our first word. How would you pronounce this? Biscuit. Biscuit. So if you said biscuit, biscuit. How about this word? If you said comfortable, there are 2 ways to say this word. Comfortable with 4 syllables, comfortable, or comfortable with 3 syllables. This way is typically more common. Comfortable. So, comfortable or comfortable? Number 3. Chocolate. 2 syllables. Chocolate. Not chocolate, chocolate. Chocolate. 2 syllables in English. And that second syllable is an ut. It's a schwa. Chocolate. Now we're moving on to level 2. How about this word? That D is silent. So if you say Wednesday, Wednesday, Wednesday. So it's quite common to mispronounce this with 3 syllables, Wednesday, and pronounce the D. But it's actually 2 syllables. Wednesday. Wednesday. How about this one? Height. Height. This one tends to get confused with hate. That's a completely different word. So if you ask someone, what's your height? It's not going to make much sense. But what's your height? Will make perfect sense. So watch for those vowel sounds. Height, and the other word, hate. Number 6, how would you pronounce this one? If you would pronounce that S and say Island, silent S. Island, island. So that second one is an land. It's not strong, it's a schwa. Lund. Land, strong vowel. Lund, very weak. Island. If you do say island, it just gives you a bit more of an accent, but you'll be perfectly understandable, don't worry. So if you can't do the schwa, it's not the end of the world, but don't pronounce the S. It is 100% silent. Level 3. What do you think about this one? How would you pronounce this word? 6th. So like a snake, like stick your tongue out between your teeth. 6th. 6th. Now in rapid speech, you might hear native English speakers just saying 6. For example, I live on the 6th floor instead of I live on the 6th floor. It's really like spitting as I say that. It's really hard to say I live on the 6th floor. So they may cut that TH and just say, I live on the 6th floor. And if you say quick enough, then it's so much easier to say, cut that TH. Word number 8. Months. 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 So What you can do with this, similar to sixth, is cut the TH. So some natives, when they're speaking quite quickly, they may say months. I'm staying there for 4 months, for example. I'm staying there for 4 months. I'm staying there for 4 months. To cut that TH, it's a lot easier in rapid speech, so feel free to do that as well. But if you're just saying the word in isolation, same with sixth, it's not really good to cut those sounds. It might confuse some people. It's only understandable if you have it in context. So you can cut the sounds in context, but on their own, I wouldn't advise cutting sounds. Number 9. What do you think about this word? Don't try and focus on that W too much. Don't try and say jewellery. There are 2 ways to say this. Jewellery, jewellery, or what most native speakers do is, again, we cut that syllable and we say jewellery. Jewellery. This one is by far the easiest way to say it, so feel free to use this way, and it's probably the one you will hear the most. So, jewellery or jewellery. Level 4. We're on to the hardest ones now, the commonly mispronounced ones, but also the most difficult to pronounce words. How would you pronounce this word? Rural. Rural. That R doesn't just appear in there once, but it appears in this word twice, making it quite tricky. And that dark L at the end can also cause problems for some speakers of certain languages. So let's just focus on that R for a moment. I do have a full video all about how to pronounce the R, and I have a nice little trick for you involving peanut butter if you want to go and check that out. You don't need peanut butter, but you can just imagine you're eating it, right? However, if you can't do that English R and you do say rural, it's not the end of the world. You will be understood. Please don't worry. However, if you want to do that R, divide the word into 2 syllables. Rua, ooa, mind the vowel. Rua, roll, roll. Now that L at the end is what's called a dark L. This appears after vowel sounds, either at the end of words or if there's a consonant sound coming after it. So this one, we don't release it. So I don't say rural, but rural, or I keep the tongue up. I'll link a video all about the light and the dark L in the card above and the description, so you can practice that a little bit more. So one final time, this word, rural, rural. How about this word? If you said Edinburgh, nope. Edinburgh, Edinburgh. Or, you've guessed it, you can cut a syllable and you can say Edinburgh. So, Edinburgh, 4 syllables, Edinburgh, or 3 syllables, Edinburgh, Edinburgh. The next word, we're nearly at the end. Be careful with this one. If you say that CH as a ch, it's a k. Chaos, chaos. So watch for that CH, it is a k in this word, and those vowels, a, o. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Lucky number word 13. How would you pronounce this one? This is the final one from level 4 before we move on to the big boss. Squirrel, squirrel. The best thing to do is not to look at the spelling of this. Instead, divide it into 2 different syllables. So we have squid, like squid, okay? Squid, roll, roll, squirrel. So again, we've got that dark L, O, squirrel. If you release that L and you say squirrel, it sounds like you're using a kind of comparative form, or you're saying squirreler. which I don't know if that word exists, so I'll have to have a look when editing this video, but it creates a different word. So try not to release your tongue. Squirrel, keep it held up. So don't look at the spelling. Squirrel, squirrel. Now, if you go to the UK, you will for sure see lots of squirrels in parks. So it's a good word to know. Now, are you ready for the big boss, the big one of this video? How would you pronounce this one? And yes, I want both parts, please. How would you pronounce this? Worcestershire Sauce. The key is not to look at the spelling. I'll be honest, I don't even know how to spell this word. I've always got to rely on spell check. So we have Worcestershire. 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 And then the second word, not sauce, sauce. Just one vowel sound there. Sauce. Worcestershire sauce. So if you want to put some Worcestershire sauce on your cheese on toast, now you know how to say it. Now there were 14 words and phrases in total here, so tell me in the comments how many did you get correct? And which one was the most difficult for you to pronounce? Let me know in the comments. The hardest one for me to spell is Worcestershire sauce, but the hardest one to pronounce is definitely rural. Probably also sixth and months, a month in rapid speech. On their own, they're not too bad, but in a sentence, if you say, this is the 6th month I have lived here, it's quite hard to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.